Okay, volume 95 is already popping off, to be honest with you. I have only read chapters 956 and 957, and I turned on this camera because we have to talk about One Piece. Okay, because Sabo's dead, maybe, question mark? Because it kind of opens with like everyone reading this news article. Also, the Riviera is over. But everyone's reading this news article and they all look shocked. And even Morgan, the bird creature that does the breaking news, he's tough. Don't mess with the news. But everyone's talking about an obit, you know, sells a lot of papers. And some characters are even like, Sabo, we just found out that he was alive and now this. Like, you... Listen. Luffy has been through enough. He is going through a lot right now. Do not take Sabo from him. That's crazy. That's crazy. On it, that's crazy. And that's not the only crazy thing, because again, let's reiterate, I've only read the first 2 chapters, and 2 other things have happened. So, I guess this is the best way to start. They talk about God Valley and the Rock Pirate crew, which consisted of Big Mom, Kaido, WhiteBeard. Like, this was a stacked crew led by, let me get this name, Rox D. Expec, maybe? But during this battle at God Valley, Garp has to team up with Rogers to take on this crew. And they go, and there's like, they're very being kind of like careful about talking about it, because they're like, Garp doesn't even like to talk about that God Valley doesn't even exist anymore on the map. Okay, if you remember last video, I was talking about how everything's kind of slow. First 2 chapters, I haven't read literally anything more than that, and I just had to turn on this camera because you guys deserve like first reaction to this, because the reason that Garp only keeps at a vice admiral, and the only reason he hasn't been dispatched from the Marines, is because of like his victories or his wins or his abilities, because he doesn't want to protect like the Celestial Dragons or be right under the Celestial Dragons. And he ended up protecting Celestial Dragons and working with pirates with Rogers at this God Valley. And they're like, that does not sit well with him. Garp is a problem. And I want to hear more about this God Valley battle, like right now. I don't know if we're going to, but I don't know if it's in the next chapter. I just had to stop because my brain is hurting. Because that's not the only thing. The last thing that happened, again, in the first 2 chapters that I have only read, I don't know if you remember from earlier, I've only read 2 chapters and all this has happened. This is like a whole volume's worth of information. They disbanded the 7 Warlords. Buggy's no longer a warlord. Just got to be a warlord. No longer one. Boa Hancock. Not a warlord. Weevil, the illegitimate son of WhiteBeard. I still don't really know what's going on with that character. No longer a warlord. Mihawk, no longer a warlord. All of the protection that all these warlords have had. And there's even a shot of Doflamingo in prison kind of laughing about it. Like, it's funny how the world works. That dude's planning something. I don't know what it is quite. And they go over Rogers' bounty and WhiteBeard's bounty. I'll flash them all on the screen. That way I don't have to sit here and read on my phone. And they're talking about if Kaido and Big Mom are in fact teamed up on Wano, this could surpass any bounty they have seen before. The Warlords are no longer protected by the Marines. Oh my gosh. One Piece is about to get crazy. Okay, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not on, is what I thought. So I'm reading this volume and I'm like, oh, you know, I thought it's going to go into a flashback and we're going to find about Odin, which is cool, but like, we got a lot of things going on here that's happening. No, I have no idea. I have no clue. So we go into Odin's backstory and we run into a bunch of characters we have seen before that I didn't think we were going to see. But, hold on, just stop. Okay, some of the characters was like the old Yakuza boss. He looks really cool as a young guy. Like, he looks tough and strong. Like, that's fun. You know, getting to see some characters we've met in Wano along the way. You know, whatever. Did not think we were gonna see WhiteBeard, man, or, you know, Gold Roger. Here's the thing, right? So I'm reading volume 95, and, you know, it's kind of, again, flashback story. It really wasn't just like, oh, all right, whatever. Like, it's cool to see how Odin became, and, you know, Cat Viper, Dogstorm, you know, all of them. It's cool to see how his crew became like his vassals, and he is a tough dude. Boy, is he a tough dude. He is slicing pigs in half. He is holding on to chains for 3 days until he hears a woman shriek, which is Toki, who can travel to the future, which, you know, as we already know, it comes in handy for his crew. So, you know, that's fun and fresh. I did not even consider that we would run into WhiteBeard and Gold Roger. We had heard before that he had been with Gold Roger on his pirate ship, right? We'd heard that. Did not click with me. We would actually see it. We would see it. Boy, did I go from like a flashback volume to when you close that page, the final page, and then it says in the next volume, you're going to see how he finds the One Piece with Gold Roger. Boy, I have not flipped on a volume like that in a good long time. I had not flipped on a volume like I did with volume 95. Boy, am I excited. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, because this whole read along is all about kind of like transparency and my actual feelings on One Piece. Because it is so easy, because One Piece is such a behemoth that it is in the manga world, it is so easy for us just to love everything. Boom, 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 love it all. And I was truthfully ready to turn on this camera and be like, yeah, it was kind of neat to learn about Odin and learn about how Kaimon and all of these people kind of got together. That was cool, but it's not peak One Piece. Listen, Ace, Sabo, there has been peak One Piece, and the peak is so high that it's sometimes hard to reach. But when that last page was Goldie Roger, and we actually get to follow Odin on his journey with Goldie Roger to find the One Piece, I had to turn on this camera and say something else because, man, am I excited. Volume 96 just got really... It has a lot to live up to. All right, we got a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about. Oh. He laughed. So volume 96 really seemed like a very long volume, but that was probably because there's so much stuff jam-packed in there. And it's the final volume of this video, so how we're going to break it up is let's talk about the past and then we'll talk about the present. But man, the past. Man, the past. You remember like a little bit ago when I said, I cannot wait, it's crazy, we're going to see him and Roger together. Dude, let's talk about it. Okay, so we start off this volume with Orochi basically having been planned to take being Shogun from Odin in Wano from his grandfather. It's been a whole plan since the beginning when he was like begging and like borrowing money. But then we basically leave that for towards the end of the volume. And we're with Odin, WhiteBeard, Roger as they go on their adventures. And man, what an adventures they have. They... Calm down. Let's go step by step because I don't want to just overload. I mean, you guys have already seen it, but there's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about. My notes littered with stuff I want to talk about. Calm down. We got this. relax. Let's get into it. Let's just start with chapter 966. So Roger and Whitebeard finally clash. And the battle lasts for 3 days. Dude. When they clash, it's so good. And then they kind of just like break bread and they just celebrate with each other. Like, man, hey, you guys are strong. Did you know that? And that is when Roger and Odin talk about ponglyphs and how Odin can read it. So he wants to take Odin with him on his adventure for only a year. Little does everybody know, Rogers only has a year to live. Whitebeard doesn't want to give him away. He's like, you're my little brother, you know? And this is, man, Edward Newgate, one of the best characters in One Piece. So, Odin kind of makes his case. Whitebeard gives back all the food and stuff Rogers left with them as kind of his thanks for being able to take Odin with him. He doesn't want his family to go hungry. It's just a little moment between them really keep showing you Edward Newgate, Whitebeard, was one of the best characters in One Piece. And I'm so glad that we got to kind of see this part of his life. He was only in there for a little bit, but that clash between him and Rogers, oof! And then that small moment with Odin, great. And then another great moment is Cat Viper and Dogstorm just kind of pop up on Rogers' ship, and it's like, we just kind of like hanging out with you, like to see your journey. We enjoy doing that, so we're gonna keep doing that. Seeing, I know this kind of hopping around, but like seeing when they do the time jump and how they kind of got left behind. Dogstorm and Cat Viper have really come into their own as characters of One Piece, especially with this little bit of backstory. They have really came into their own characters and become memorable characters in their own right, in my opinion. So after Cat Viper, Dogstorm, and all of them join Rogers, I believe, I'm like 98% sure they go to Skypiea. Then after that, they kind of go to Fishman Island, and we see King Neptune. And then they go to Zhao, and they get like weird feelings talking about how, you remember the Zhao elephant can talk to Rogers, Luffy, Odin. And there's a lot of questions I got, but here's one question. Are we sure Luffy and Rogers not related? Because there are a few panels in this throwback flashback volume. He looks so similar to Luffy. Like, wildly similar. He acts very similar. We are sure. And he even mentions having a son, which we know is Ace at this point. But I know it sounds hear me out. I know it sounds crazy. There has to be some relations to them. They are so similar. So then after the Ponglyphs, collecting all these things, and there is one moment when Odin has to go back to Wano to get the Ponglyphs, and Wano has been thrown in disarray, and he's walking away from him, and he even says this, he says, I know if I looked back, I would not go on my adventure. It's heartbreaking. Like, Odin as a character, boy, and we are not even at the end. Odin as a character, I apologize for me talking bad, like, about him being like, oh, it's going to be a flashback. You remember last volume? Oh, it's going to be a flashback. It's going to be so bad. I apologize. I am sorry. I feel like every video I have to apologize now because I am just like, I have no patience. I want it to be peak One Piece at all times. That's my problem. And we are there. We are there. We are there. So they get to the final island, which they call Laugh-Tale. And they find out everything. They find the One Piece. And I guess the One Piece is not like a... See, I always thought the One Piece was a physical item. Like an actual thing. I know that we really haven't had anything throughout these chapters. 960-something, 70-something chapters now. I always just thought it was like a thing. Like I could pick it up. It's like my phone. Like it's the One Piece, we found it. But they reach the final island. And this is where Rogers just laughs because he learns everything. All of it. He learns about the D in people's names. He learns about the void. He He learns what the ancient weapons are. He learns everything. He becomes the king of the pirates. He's one of the first people to circumnavigate the globe, the world. And his legend starts at that moment. We get to see that moment. Think about that. I'm sorry, I probably just blew out your ears. If you're wearing headphones, I apologize. But think about that. Think about, we have been on this journey for 967 chapters at this point. I mean, obviously, we're going to go to chapter 974, the end of this volume. But right now, when this happens, 967, and we get to see that moment. It honestly messed me up. The reason I say that is because it felt like a culmination. It felt like pieces from the very beginning are starting to form into place. But Oda, because he's Oda, has left so many questions. Like, we, as readers or watchers, still don't know what is the Will of D, what are the ancient weapons, what is this 100-year void, and they keep mentioning like a Joy Boy thing. Like, he leaves an apology on Skypiea on the Poneglyphs. I believe that's been mentioned before in Skypiea. It's been a long time since I've read Skypiea. I should probably think about rereading Skypiea, to be honest. And Rogers mentions this Joy Boy person. It's an odd name. Joy Boy, odd name. Like, I don't get it. But, so that's a thing, or person, entity, god, character. I don't know. Again, I don't know these things. We don't know these things. But he is basically given the answers to the world, the One Piece. And I guess that's what the One Piece has always been, is instead of an actual thing that I can hold, it's the knowledge of the world. Honestly, I really hope I didn't misread that, because then that's just me rambling about stuff I have no idea what I'm talking about. So let me know in the comments down below, like, I didn't misread it, right? Like, that's what happened. That's what I got out of it. 100-year void, ancient weapons, Joy Boy thing, and they understood like what the Will of D type stuff at Laugh Tale. And the reason they call it Laugh Tale is because they all started laughing when they found out. They could not control themselves. And even Odin, when he finds out that Rogers has been executed, he he cries, he laughs, he cries on the beach, but we'll kind of get to that part a little later. So then Roger disbands his pirates. We get to see the disbanding, and he talks about how there's going to be someone born that even surpasses them. And he's like, it's going to be my son. He's like, you don't have a son, but we know later on it's Ace. But again, this is one of my points when I say this. It really is alluding to the fact of Luffy. And it is bothering my mind that is it? Like, we know Luffy is Dragon's kid. Listen, I feel like I could go down a whole family tree at this point. But Oda is really, like, doing that little, like, he's gonna have a son that surpasses him. And it's just making you feel like we're following Luffy. It's gotta be him, right? But then he talks about, like, this Joy Boy thing. Like, we have to open the gates, like Wano's gates, for when Joy Boy appears. Again, it sounds like a person, and they got 15 years, 10 to 15 years before they appear, it appears, entity, I don't know, I'll be honest with you, taking a lot of shots in the dark here, because again, I feel like 67, 68, man, it was just like, hey, I'm just going to unload all this information. Oda's like, you guys figure it out. He's like, I'm going to give you all this, you guys try to figure this out. Try to put two and two together. One of the things I really did like, right? So throughout these volumes, Odin is basically like the narrator of it as well. Like, we're reading his journal. And so when Roger kind of leaves his pirates and he kind of goes on his own, as we've already kind of seen that journey of Roger's or been told about it, he goes, well, nobody cried when he left. And it's just all of them like sobbing uncontrollably. No, please. He's like, no one cried. No, please. That's definitely like a great moment of, no, hey, we were men. Listen, we were the men. We never cried. just bawling there, every single one of them. In all fairness, though, they were a family, like, it makes sense. And that is when Odin returns to Wano, and he finds out that Toki has been shot by, again, Orochi. Boy, he loses it, and storms the castle, cutting down people in his way, and he gets to Orochi. And I have another question for you guys. So, when Odin gets to Orochi and goes and boom, tries to hit him, right? Barrier comes up. The priest has the barrier. The same barrier, right, that Bartolomeo has. So, in turn, let me know in the comments down below if I'm right. I feel like I put this together. I'm very proud of myself. I'm going to be honest with you. Hardly ever do I'm like, oh, this is clicking at the exact right moment it needs to click. You guys know, you've been watching my journey. Listen, I'm a little slow most of the time, to be honest. I'm enjoying myself, what can I say? But does this mean he was the devil fruit user before Bartolomeo? Because, and this is what I want to know down in the comments down below. Does someone have to die, right, for the devil fruit to basically re-materialize and another person can consume it? There basically cannot be two users of the same devil fruit at the same time. I am pretty sure I'm right. So this is the user right before Bartolomeo, in theory. I felt good about that one. I felt like I'm right about that. And like when it clicked with me when I was reading, I was like, I feel very smart. Very smart. It's very rare that it happens. Let me have this. You know what I mean? So, Odin clashes with Orochi, and then we kind of don't see anything. But Oden the Fool appears for about 4 years, dances in his underwear, you know, just doing his thing, and people are like, what a fool. He was our hope. He was our one light. And we don't really know, when we're reading this, why he's doing it. We do find out later, and buddy, when we find out later, oof, we feel like the villagers. We're like, no, we were kidding. We understand you now. Oh, can we just talk about the born to boil part? Can I just skip over a lot of this other stuff? I just want to get right into it. Listen, I just want to get right into it, to be honest with you. I wrote a few other things down. We're going to rapid fire it just real quick, just get it out the way. The Akazaya 9 are brought together to bring down Kaido. I was kind of going to go kind of into the Akazaya 9. You guys know who they are. Let's just talk about Odin versus Kaido. Born to boil. Born to boil. I feel like I'm very intense, right? I don't mean that. You guys are my friends. I'm not aggressive. I'm just excited. It's a fine line, to be honest. Odin goes with Kaido. They also, Shinobu, I can't remember her at all. I meant to look her up right before I turned on this camera. I just forgot. It's my apologies. But she jumps into the fight, becomes very important a little later on. But the Odin versus Kaido, he actually hits Kaido. Not only that, I am going to say this right now, out loud, onto this camera, into the YouTube algorithm, like the YouTube internet space. I think he could have beat Kaido. If they would have not done a fake Momo, which they do, which is very upsetting, if they wouldn't have done that, and he wouldn't have had a traitor in his miss. Oh, we learned about that too. Traitor in his miss. Aggravating. But I honestly think he could have taken Kaido. That's my honest opinion. You cannot change my mind. Let me know in the comments down below. I also agree he could have taken Kaido. So with the fake Momo, they get captured and are sentenced to boil to death. And we see it because the person that was going to shove him in gets shoved into the burning oil, burns right up, right? Odin looks at Kaido and says, you pick a time. If all 9 of us, we go in together, if we survive that time limit that you set, we go free, we live. Kaido sets a 1-hour time limit. And this part, I legitimately was welling up. And I don't know why. I do know why. Because Odin hops in, lifts up a board, a wooden plank, and tells all the Asakana, help me in the comments down below, tells his friends, that's a better way to put it, tells his friends hop on. And you see this man take this boiling heat and just hold up his friends for an hour. That's when Shinobu comes and tells him everything that he's done, that he was dancing the fool, protecting you fools. You were the fools, he wasn't the fool. Because Orochi and Kaido said, give us 5 years, we'll leave if you do this. And they obviously went back on their word. And y'all were the fools thinking that this king, the shogun, was not actually protecting his people, and he was. And he's sitting there just on fire. He's just holding them up for an hour. I can't reiterate just the pacing of this chapter, and everything was hitting. It felt so real to me. Like, all the emotions in this chapter, everything was hitting. It was amazing. It was amazing, this payoff of this Odin character. Because obviously Orochi changes, at the very last minute, I changed it to a firing squad. So he throws everybody off of him. And they all kind of escape because there's a firing squad. And Kaido looks at Odin and says, I can put you out of your misery. And he said he was born to boil. And goes down into this pit and becomes like this martyr, this hero, the Odin that Luffy and all of them heard about when they got to Wano. And you can understand now, you went. This is what's so impressive. You really got that character's life through, and I am, again, you saw at the beginning of this video, I was like, oh, I thought it was on. I thought this was just a flashback, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We learn about this character, and the payoff for this character is amazing. It is Odin in 20 chapters shined. Not only that, dude, we got the Rogers stuff. The WhiteBeard made like a cameo. This volume was everything I wanted out of this type of volume to be. It was dang near perfect. It really, really was. And before we hop into the present, the last little bit of the past after Odin's sacrifice was what I really enjoyed. Momo gets grabbed by Kaido before they get, rescued and thrown back into time, where we end up meeting them. And he stands up to Kaido. And he says, I'm going to be the one that beats you. My father told me that. It proves, even now, when we jump into the present, I think Momo is really going to shine when they finally beat Kaido. Well, okay, I can't say... Listen, we know they're going to beat Kaido. Listen, it's One Piece. They're going to beat him. This is not... Kaido is not going to be the one, Just not. It's not going to happen. But it is nice to see that in Momo, and I think he is going to have his shining moment when they're fighting Kaido. 100%. And we find out Dingio, one of the 9, is actually Kairoshio because of the sadness and grief that he felt, and he kind of like worked his way into it, which is going to make it super interesting going back and rereading the beginning chapters of Wano now that you know that character. And he said his grief changed his whole face, which is, a little odd. It's a little bit of a stretch, but I'll buy it. I'll believe it. A little bit of a stretch, but it's One Piece, so I can buy stuff in the world of One Piece. So we are in the present now for the final chapter, chapter 974, which is where we're going to leave off on this video. And buddy, it's on now. I feel like I say that every at the end of every video recently, like the last 2 videos. It's on, but no, seriously, it's on. So we find out who the traitor's been, who's been the stupid traitor giving away our plans. And Jiro, the one that draws like all that stuff, he's the traitor. He's like an actor, and he was hired because he wants to, his greatest role. That made me, can I be honest with you guys? That sucks. That's the thing. I don't know. Like, it kind of sucks that Oda went the route of having a traitor in there, because this is the group, man. He was on the wood with Odin holding them up, burning alive, and you're still gonna switch on him like that? Makes no sense. I'm physically mad. Like, no, we're having a good time here. It's a great story, but like, how could you let someone boil alive for you and still switch on him? And he's now kidnapped Momo on the island because they were kind of getting off their little island and going to fight Kaido, because come to find out, the day that it was happening, no one kind of showed up. So they're like, it's just us now. But it's not just them. It's not even close to just now. So they think all is lost. They're being surrounded on the ocean. Momo is kidnapped by Kanjiro back on the island until Law, Luffy, Kid rise up out of the ocean and look at all like the people that are surrounding their friends and says, listen, you're on the ocean. You're on the ocean. You're going to fight pirates. Oh! Oh, so good. Have you heard that it's on? Have you heard that it's on? Like, I didn't know if you heard it, but it's on. I cannot wait for the next chunk of chapters in this Wano, because now, right, here's my thing. We've gotten all the setup out of the way. It has to be on. We have learned about Wano. We have learned about Odin. We have learned about Roger. Learned all these things. We have figured out how everyone got exactly where they are at right now in the present. The only thing going forward has to be the battle with Kaido. Please tell me it is on. It is now. I am ready. Everyone is in. I am ready. And that was the final volume for this video. You know the crazy part about it, right? I am so ready for the Kaido battle with Luffy, Law, Kid, not X-Drake. I know, hey, it's been known that people mess up Kid and X-Drake. It's been known to happen. Not me, though. Never me. Not me. But I'm so ready for that battle to take place. The funny part is, and I don't think this stuff will get answered until like after the Wano arc. So you guys actually that are current are maybe finding out answers to some of these questions right now, or like it's laying the groundwork to answer it in the arc. Because I did hear that Wano finally ended, so that's cool. I don't think we'll find it out in this arc, but like with that Rogers stuff, with him kind of like laughing and learning all this knowledge and finding the One Piece, I'm really looking forward to those answers. But I feel like those answers are the culmination of One Piece. You get what I'm like? I feel like that's not gonna be till the like in-game stuff, which who knows when in the world in-game stuff is gonna happen. But talking about someone being born, again, I think it's Luffy. He did say his son. We know what happened to Ace. Never forget. Joy Boy stuff is interesting. Like, is it a person? Is it entity, like a god of some sort? Like, is Joy Boy... Here's my... Okay, I'm going to pull a theory time for the end of this video. If you don't want to hear my theories, I guess you can kind of, like, click out of the video. Because, like, I'm going to do kind of this theory, wrap it up, and it's going to be the end of the video. So, I'm just going to do a few theory times because it's got me thinking. So, what if Joy Boy... Do you remember the movie The Matrix? And he's like the architect. And let's say Joy Boy is the architect and One Piece is like the Matrix. Was Joy Boy the one that told them all this information? Because he had to have heard this information when they got to Laugh Tale. That's my thing. Somebody or something or some entity had to tell them all this information about the 100-Year Void, which I don't even remember having anything being told about that. That's new, really. Ancient weapons, the Will of D, or the people named D. I just want to know about the D. You know what I'm saying? I know that was a bad joke. It was a bad one. I had to do it, right? I had to. There was no other option. Maybe I'll cut this out of the video. But somebody had to tell Gold D. Roger all of that stuff. And is that Joy Boy? That's my theory right now. But they also say he's gonna be born. I don't know. I might have to like gather some thoughts, do some videos, but the thing about it is I'm reading right now, so maybe after I get caught up, I'll do, if we don't know the answers by the time I'm caught up, I'll do it. But just that chapter, again, the 967, 968, buddy, was that some chapters? That was some chapters. That was some of the best. It's the only reason I'm going to say it's some of the best chapters of One Piece is because, like, dude, we have been reading or watching, and when it finally gets to that, it was just kind of like this. We are learning more about the bigger picture of One Piece. Because I feel like a lot of times in One Piece, we can get so caught up in the island and the arc and stuff that the Straw Hats are in there's this big, huge mystery in this world that I feel like we get so little breadcrumbs every once in a while. And to have that, to witness Gold D. Roger becoming the king of the pirates and learning all this stuff was just incredible. Not to mention, like, to follow that up with Odin versus Kaido and then him holding his friends on top of this wooden plank while getting boiled. Oh, volume 96. A+. A triple plus. But yeah, that is it for this little chunk of One Piece. We are finally, I feel like it is on. Let me know, as always, down below the next chunk of chapters I should read for the next video. It's on. It's on. Such a good, oh man, so good. As always, thank you so much for watching the end of this video, always supporting these videos. You guys mean the world to me. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Because it's really just me being super excited about something that I'm finding for the first time, and for you guys to like be so welcoming and be like having such a good time watching my journey means the world to me. So thank you. And as always, if you're having a bad day, I hope it gets better. If you're having a good day, I hope it becomes fantastic. I'll see you next time.